Today, we're going to be comparing and contrasting Cloudways versus Bluehost.
Two of the big names out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's something that a lot of people have questions about and are curious about. And Bluehost has always been kind of the go-to recommendation.
Especially for WordPress.
Especially for WordPress, yeah.
Yeah.
But Cloudways has been sort of racking up the wins in a lot of the head-to-head comparisons.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to kind of see what's going on there.
Well, I think what's interesting is that they kind of have different approaches to the whole hosting thing.
Oh, okay.
So it's almost like they have different personalities.
Interesting. Okay.
Which is a fun way to look at it, I think.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so tell me about those personalities then. What are we talking about here?
So think of Bluehost like the really helpful friend that can kind of do it all. Right. So they've got shared hosting, VPS, dedicated servers. They even offer cloud hosting.
Wow. Okay. So they really do run the gamut.
Yeah. So they appeal to like a really wide range of customers, from like the absolute beginner who's like, I don't even know what I'm doing, to people who need a little bit more power.
Okay.
And I think they've really built their name on being like affordable and user-friendly.
Right.
Which I think are two huge things for people who are maybe a little intimidated by the whole web hosting world.
Okay, so Bluehost is kind of like the one-stop shop.
Yeah.
What about Cloudways then?
So Cloudways is kind of like the cloud specialist.
Okay.
Right. So they're really focused on speed, performance, all of that. And the interesting thing about them is that they don't actually own their own servers.
Oh.
So they partner with the big names like Google Cloud, AWS, all the big players.
Okay.
And so what they're doing is they're giving you the power of the cloud without having to manage it yourself.
Oh, okay. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, right. Which can be very appealing for people who maybe want that level of performance but don't want to have to go through the hassle of setting up their own cloud server.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so it seems like they're targeting pretty different customers then.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. If Bluehost is like the easy do-it-all,
right,
who was Cloudways going after?
So I would say Bluehost is really good for like individual small businesses, bloggers,
okay,
people who maybe are just starting out. They need something simple, easy to use, and they're on a budget.
Right.
If they want to get online and they don't want to have to spend a ton of money. Versus Cloudways, I would say they're appealing more to growing businesses.
Okay.
People who maybe have e-commerce sites, developers who maybe are a little bit more comfortable with the technical side of things.
Okay.
And people who just in general, expect a lot of traffic, or they're hoping for a lot of traffic. They want to be prepared for it.
Okay. So if Bluehost is for keep it simple, Cloudways is like, we're going to help you grow.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, obviously, price is a huge factor.
Huge.
When you're choosing a hosting provider. So how do these two stack up when it comes to the money question?
So this is another place where you see kind of a big difference in their approach. Bluehost is very traditional. They have fixed pricing.
Okay.
So you know what you're going to pay every month. They have set plans, different tiers of features.
Okay.
Their shared plans can be super affordable, sometimes under $3 a month.
Wow.
But, and this is a big but, those really low prices usually come with a much higher renewal rate.
Yeah, they always get you.
So, you might get a great deal for the first year, but then you have to be prepared to pay, a significant increase when it comes time to renew.
Yeah, those renewal prices, those can be a nasty little surprise sometimes.
Yeah.
So Cloudways, what's their approach then?
So Cloudways is a little bit different. They have a pay-as-you-go system. So you only pay for the server resources that you're actually using.
Okay.
Which can be really appealing for certain types of businesses or developers.
Right.
Their starting prices might look a little higher than Bluehost's really low intro rates.
Okay.
But over time, they can actually be more cost-effective.
Especially if you're growing, you're scaling up, you need more resources.
Exactly. And if your needs fluctuate, if you have some months where you need a lot of power and some months where you don't, it can really work out in your favor. Plus, you don't have to worry about those renewal hikes.
Yeah, that's a big one. Okay, so predictable pricing for Bluehost.
Right.
But watch out for those renewals, and then a little more flexibility and potential savings in the long run with Cloudways.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. Now, at the end of the day, I think the reason that we care about web hosting is because we want our websites to be fast. Right. No one wants to wait for a page to load. Google doesn't want to wait for a page to load.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of performance, how do these two stack up?
So both of them Actually, I will give them credit. They both use SSD storage, which is great.
Okay.
That's kind of the first step. Those are much faster than traditional hard drive.
Much faster.
But where it gets interesting is when you look at where your data is actually located.
Okay.
So Bluehost has one data center, and it's in Utah, which, is fine if you're in the US. But if you have a global audience, if you have people visiting your site from Europe, from Asia, that data has to travel a lot farther.
Right. So even in the digital world, location matters.
Exactly.
Okay.
Cloudways, on the other hand, they have over 65 data centers around the world.
Wow. Okay.
That's a huge difference.
Okay. So in terms of like, if you have a global audience, or if you think you might have a global audience in the future, Cloudways is really kind of the way to go there.
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. What about other things that affect performance, though?
Yeah.
Like, caching, different optimizations. Is there more to the story there?
There is. So Cloudways uses multiple layers of caching. They use things like Varnish, Redis, Memcached.
Okay.
All these tools that sound kind of complicated, but basically what they're doing is they're storing your website data in a way that makes it super fast to retrieve.
Got it. Okay.
They also use something called a Thunder Stack, which is their optimized stack of web tools, basically designed for speed.
Okay.
And, there was actually a test done where a Cloudways site loaded 5 times faster than an identical site on Bluehost.
Wow. Okay. So that's a pretty big difference.
It's significant, yeah.
Okay. So Cloudways has really kind of taken the win there in the performance.
Yeah, I would say so. They've really focused on making speed a priority.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we've talked about speed, but what about security?
Yeah.
Because, a fast website's not going to do you much good if it gets hacked.
Yes.
So how do they compare in terms of keeping your website safe?
So again, Cloudways, I think, takes a more proactive approach.
Yeah.
They have a lot of security features built in, so things like firewalls, two-factor authentication, regular security patching.
Okay.
They really kind of take security seriously, and they want to make sure your website is protected.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What about Bluehost?
So Bluehost offers the basics. So you get a free SSL certificate, which encrypts the connection between your website and your visitors.
Okay.
They also offer malware scanning.
Okay.
But if you want more advanced security features, you'll often have to pay extra or upgrade to a higher plan.
Oh, okay. So they're kind of a tiered approach.
Yeah, I would say so.
Versus Cloudways, where it's like baked in. Okay. And so you would say then if someone is dealing with sensitive information,
yeah,
like e-commerce,
yeah,
credit card numbers, things like that.
Yeah.
That's something that they really need to think about.
Absolutely. And the level of security you need is going to depend on your website.
Right.
But, it's always better to err on the side of caution.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's put ourselves in the shoes of someone who's actually using these platforms.
Yeah.
Day to day, what's the user experience like? Are they both easy to use, or is one a little trickier than the other?
So this is where I think those personalities really come into play.
Okay.
So Bluehost is famous for being user-friendly.
Okay.
Especially for beginners.
Gotcha.
They use cPanel, which is kind of the industry standard control panel for hosting. It's super easy to use. They've even added their own little tweaks to make it even more intuitive.
Okay.
So even if you've never used web hosting before, you can probably figure out Bluehost pretty quickly.
Gotcha. So that's great for the first timer, the beginner. What about Cloudways?
So Cloudways gives you more customization options.
Okay.
Which can be great if you want more control over your server setup. But it does mean there's a bit of a learning curve.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Especially if you're not familiar with cloud hosting concepts.
Right.
Their control panel is also their own design, so it's not the standard cPanel that you might be used to.
Okay.
But if you're comfortable with that, if you're a little bit more technical,
yeah,
then you might really appreciate the level of control that Cloudways gives you.
Okay. So a little more hands-on, a little more under the hood.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. Okay. Now, even if a platform is easy to use, eventually everyone needs help.
Absolutely.
Right. So in terms of support, how do these two companies stack up?
So both of them offer support, which is essential in the hosting world.
Yeah, your website's up all the time. You need to be able to get help when you need it.
Exactly. But they have different approaches to how they deliver that support. So Bluehost, they offer everything. They have phone, email, live chat.
Okay.
They're known for being super helpful, especially during an initial onboarding process.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a beginner, they're really great at kind of hand-holding you through the process of getting your website set up.
So they're like the friendly face.
Yeah.
the helping hand to kind of get you going.
Exactly.
What about Cloudways?
So Cloudways primarily relies on live chat and a ticketing system.
Okay.
So you submit your issue and then they get back to you.
Okay.
It's a little bit more hands-off than Bluehost.
Okay.
But they do have a premium support option that you can pay for if you need more dedicated help.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. So different approaches to support, but both offer 24/7.
Yep.
Which is what matters, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, websites are constantly evolving. You want to make sure that your hosting provider can grow with you.
Yeah.
So how do these two platforms handle scalability?
So this is another key difference. Bluehost, you can upgrade your plan as your website grows, but you're limited to their own infrastructure.
Okay, so you can't like jump ship to a different provider if you need to.
Right. So you can go from shared to VPS or dedicated, but you're staying within their ecosystem.
Okay, gotcha. What about Cloudways?
So Cloudways, they're built for scalability.
Okay.
They use the power of the cloud, which means that you can adjust your resources on the fly to accommodate traffic surges.
Gotcha.
You can bump up your RAM, CPU, storage, all with just a few clicks.
Nice.
And you're not tied to one provider's infrastructure.
Oh, wow.
So if your needs change, you can actually migrate your entire website to a different cloud provider seamlessly.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Okay, so that's like a huge advantage in terms of future-proofing.
Absolutely.
Making sure that, no matter what happens down the road,
Yeah.
your website can handle it.
Exactly. They understand that the needs of a website can change a lot over time.
Yeah, for sure. Okay,
Yeah.
so just to kind of quickly recap.
Yeah.
Bluehost is great for, simplicity, affordability, that kind of hands-on support experience.
Right.
Really good for beginners, small businesses,
Right.
and then Cloudways excels in performance, security, scalability. So really for growing businesses, developers, e-commerce, anyone who needs that kind of more robust, powerful solution.
Exactly.
Okay, so they both have a lot to offer. It just depends on what you need.
Yeah, there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
There's never a one-size-fits-all.
I think it's worth kind of diving into some of the specific features they offer. So, for example, we mentioned content delivery networks, CDNs, briefly.
Yeah, that was something that I saw come up in my research too, but I'm still a little bit fuzzy on like what exactly they are and why they matter.
So a CDN is basically like having a network of mini warehouses for your website data all over the world.
Oh, okay.
So they store copies of your static content, so things like images, CSS files, JavaScript,
Okay.
and they store those closer to your visitors.
Got it.
So let's say someone in London visits your site. With a CDN, that content is going to be served from a server in Europe instead of having to travel all the way from, a server in the US.
So it's like instead of having one giant mega store, you've got little local shops on every corner.
Exactly.
So everyone can just pop in and grab what they need.
Exactly. And it can really reduce those load times.
Okay.
Especially for people who are far away from your main server.
Right. That makes sense. So CDNs are definitely a good thing, then it sounds like.
They are, yeah.
Do both platforms offer CDNs?
They do. Bluehost actually includes a free CDN service with all their plans.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it's powered by Cloudflare, which is, a really reputable CDN provider.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
So that's a really nice perk.
Yeah. What about Cloudways?
So Cloudways has a paid CDN service. It's called Cloudways CDN.
Okay.
Very creative name.
Yeah, straight to the point.
And it's an add-on, so it'll cost you a few extra dollars a month. But it gives you a lot more control over your CDN settings.
Gotcha.
And it integrates really seamlessly with their platform.
Okay, so it's a trade-off, free with Bluehost, but maybe a little more limited. And then, you pay a little bit more with Cloudways, but you get more control.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. Now, earlier we also touched on the idea of migrating a website.
Yes.
Which sounds kind of scary to me, to be honest.
That can be intimidating.
So do these platforms, like if you're moving your site from one host to another, do they offer any help with that process?
They do. So Bluehost will actually migrate one website for free when you sign up.
Oh, wow.
So their support team will take care of everything.
So you don't have to like mess with databases and all that?
Nope.
Okay, that's awesome.
So it's a really great service for people who are maybe a little nervous about that technical side of things.
Yeah, that's a huge value add, I would say.
Absolutely.
What about Cloudways? Do they have anything similar?
So Cloudways takes more of a DIY approach.
Okay.
But they still give you the tools and support to do it yourself.
Okay.
So they have a free migration plugin, and they also have really good documentation. So even if you're not super technical, you can usually handle it yourself.
Okay, so they empower you to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. All right. What about email?
Oh, yeah.
Is that even, like, does it even matter where you host your email? And do these platforms offer that as part of their packages?
So email hosting is important, especially if you want to use a professional email address.
Right.
So instead of using, your name at gmail.com, you can have you at yourwebsite.com.
Right. It looks so much better.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So does Bluehost offer that?
So Bluehost includes free email accounts with all their hosting plans.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so you can set up multiple addresses. You can manage everything through their webmail interface.
That's super convenient.
Yeah.
What about Cloudways?
So Cloudways actually doesn't directly include email hosting in their plans. They recommend using a third-party provider like Rackspace or Google Workspace.
Oh, okay. So you'd have to pay extra for that then.
You would, yeah.
Okay, interesting. Are there any benefits to going with a separate email provider like that?
There can be. So dedicated email providers often have more advanced features.
Okay.
So things like better spam filtering, stronger security, more storage space.
Okay, so you get what you pay for, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a trade-off.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. You mentioned a feature earlier that sounded kind of technical called staging environments.
Yes.
I don't even know what that is.
Staging environment is basically like a dress rehearsal for your website. So it's a copy of your live website, but it's not public.
Okay.
And you can use it to test out changes, new features, updates without affecting your live site.
Okay, so this is like huge for preventing mistakes, especially if you're making a lot of changes to your site.
Absolutely.
So if I'm like redesigning my website, I don't want to like accidentally break something and then,
Right.
have my site be down for who knows how long.
Exactly. And it's not just about like big changes. It's even just like small updates,
Okay.
You want to make sure everything's working properly before you push it live.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
So staging environments, definitely a good thing.
Definitely.
Do both platforms offer those?
They do. So Bluehost includes a one-click staging environment with their higher tier WordPress plans.
Okay.
So it's super easy to create a copy of your site, make changes, and then push those changes live when you're ready.
Okay, that's awesome. What about Cloudways?
Cloudways also has staging environments, and they make it really easy to create a copy of your site and synchronize those changes between your staging and your live environment.
Okay, so both of them have got that kind of safety net built in.
Yeah, they both recognize how important it is.
Okay. It's becoming pretty clear that, both of these platforms have a lot to offer, but they're definitely targeting different people.
Different needs, yeah.
Yeah.
Different personalities.
Different personalities, exactly. So, it seems like Bluehost is really focused on that user-friendly experience, keeping things simple.
Yeah, and they really have all the basics covered.
Yeah.
So if you need something simple and you don't want to have to think about it too much, they're a great option.
Perfect. And then the Cloudways is all about that power and performance.
Yeah, flexibility.
Control.
Control, yeah.
Okay, so it really comes down to like, what are your priorities?
Yeah.
What are your needs?
And where are you at in your website journey? Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of the features and kind of the pros and cons of each platform.
Yeah, we've really gone in depth here, I think.
But we haven't really answered the big question.
Which is?
Which one should you actually choose?
Yeah, which one's the winner?
Right. And I'm not going to cop out and say it depends. If I had to choose one for my own websites, I would go with Cloudways.
Okay, interesting. I mean, I'm not totally surprised given your love of performance and all things cloud related.
Right.
But walk me through it. Like, why Cloudways?
So for me, it comes down to two main things: performance and scalability. I want my websites to load fast, not just for my visitors, but for SEO purposes. You know,
Google likes a fast website.
Google loves a fast website.
Yeah.
And I know with Cloudways, with their cloud infrastructure, their optimized servers, all the data centers they have around the world, like my site's going to be able to handle pretty much anything.
Yeah. So you're really thinking long term.
Yeah.
Future-proofing your web presence.
Exactly. Plus they have all the security features built in, so I don't have to worry about, getting hacked or my site going down.
Yeah, that peace of mind is huge.
Yeah. And honestly, I like to tinker. I like to have control over my server environment, and Cloudways gives me that.
You're a little bit more advanced than the average user, I would say.
Perhaps, yeah.
So, you mentioned that Bluehost is really great for beginners. Are there any situations where you would actually recommend Bluehost over Cloudways?
Absolutely. If you're just starting out, if you have a simple website, You're not expecting a ton of traffic. You just want something that's easy to use, affordable, and has great support. Bluehost is perfect for that.
Okay. So they're really good at holding your hand.
Yes, they'll walk you through every step of the way.
Kind of guide you through the process.
Exactly.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here today.
We have.
We've really gotten into all the nitty-gritty details of Bluehost and Cloudways.
Strengths, the weaknesses.
And hopefully, given our listeners the information they need to choose the right platform for them.
I hope so.
Because, like we said, there's no one right answer. It really comes down to your needs, your budget, your technical skills.
Exactly. And what's so great is that you can always switch later on if you need to. You're not locked in. So you can experiment. You can try different things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we encourage everyone to, check out both platforms.
Yeah.
We'll have links in the episode description to both Bluehost and Cloudways. So you can go to their websites, compare their plans, see which one, feels like a good fit for you.
Yeah, do your research, take advantage of those free trials and money-back guarantees.
Make an informed decision.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us for another deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you later.